October 14, 1943. The sky over northern Germany is a hard, colorless gray. Staff Sergeant Daniel Danny Mercer grips the yoke of his Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress. Tail number 4-30117. As the formation approaches Bremen, he is 24 years old, from Ohio, and today he flies left seat for the first time on a deep penetration mission into Nazi territory. Below him lies the industrial heart of the Reich. Somewhere beyond the haze, factories feed the war machine of Adolf Hitler. The briefing had been blunt: hit the Focke-Wulf assembly plants and get out. No fighter escort all the way in. Too far. 36,000 feet. The air inside the cockpit is razor thin and smells of heated metal and oxygen rubber. Bandits at 3 o'clock low, the navigator mutters. They come fast, sleek Messerschmitt. Bf 109 fighters climbing through contrails like sharks through foam. Black crosses flash in the pale light. Danny feels the first concussion before he hears it. Flak. Shell bursts blossom around the formation, dark flowers with orange hearts. The bomber shudders. Plexiglass rattles. Somewhere aft, a gunner curses. Hold her steady, his co-pilot, Lieutenant Harris, whispers. Steady, that's the rule. Bombers survive by formation discipline. Break rank and you die alone. But the sky has other plans. A violent shock slams into their right wing. The fortress lurches sideways. Warning lights blink red. Number 3 engine screams as all pressure drops to nothing. Danny looks right and freezes. Another B-17, torn and smoking, has drifted into them. Its vertical stabilizer is shredded. Its left wingtip is lodged into Danny's own wing like two broken birds fused together. For a heartbeat, both planes are locked, metal screaming against metal. Propellers biting air inches apart. In the other cockpit, Danny sees a face behind cracked glass. A pilot. Wide-eyed. Alive. They are falling. Not spinning, just sinking. Locked together, losing altitude in slow, terrible descent over Nazi Germany. Cut power. Harris yells. Danny hesitates. If he pulls back too hard, the wings shear off. If he does nothing, they both plunge. Below, the flak batteries adjust. He meets the other pilot's eyes again. There's no radio between them. Only instinct, only terror. The two bombers, fused by collision, drift out of formation descending toward enemy soil, and neither crew has decided whether to jump. The two Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress aircraft grind against each other like wounded animals. Altitude, 28,000 feet, and falling. Inside Danny Mercer's cockpit, every vibration feels like the beginning of the end. The right wing trembles violently, where the other bomber's torn aluminum has hooked into it. Number 3 engine is dead. Number 4 coughs black smoke. Bailout bell, Harris asks quietly. Danny doesn't answer. Behind them, waist gunners fight to keep balance as the floor tilts at an unnatural angle. The interphone crackles. Tails still attached. Someone shouts, "Other ships jammed into us good." Through the fractured plexiglass, Danny can see the second B-17's nose art half burned away. Its bombardier is gone. The nose compartment is empty, glass shattered inward. But in the cockpit, the other pilot still fights his controls. Below, northern Germany spreads in grim gray patterns of farmland and smoke stacks. Somewhere near Bremen, anti-aircraft batteries track them. A shell bursts close to close. Shrapnel rips through Danny's left stabilizer. The aircraft bucks. The two bombers sink lower, still fused at the wings, not spinning, not diving, just falling together in an unstable glide. If either pilot yanks too hard, both wings will tear free. Danny grabs the throttles. He pulls power back on the remaining engines, careful, slow. He gestures to the other cockpit. Ease it down. The other pilot seems to understand. For several eternal seconds, the two aircraft descend in fragile coordination, like strangers carrying a wounded man between them. Then the grinding stops. Metal gives way with a sharp, violent snap. The planes separate. Danny's B-17 jerks upward, suddenly lighter. The other bomber drops away beneath them, rolling slightly, smoke trailing from its wing root. Danny leans forward, breath fogging his mask. The other aircraft does not explode. It stabilizes. Against all logic, both bombers are still flying. Altitude, 18,000 feet. Too low for comfort, too high to relax. Controls responding. Harris says, disbelief in his voice. Danny looks at the instrument panel. Hydraulics damaged. One engine out. Fuel leaking from the right wing tank. They cannot climb. They cannot stay. Below, German fighters begin to circle back, dark spakes turning in wide arcs. One of the gunners shouts, "They're lining up again." Danny glances at the other B-17. It limps beside them now, trailing smoke but holding course. Two broken fortresses, separated but bound by fate. The formation is gone. The escorts are gone. They are alone over Nazi Germany. Danny makes a decision. Stay with them, he says quietly. We fly together. The fighters dive. The German fighters descend out of the sun. Danny barely sees the first Messerschmitt Bf 109 before its cannon flashes. Tracers streak past the cockpit, white-hot lines tearing through thin air. Fighters 6 o'clock. The tail gunner roars. The B-17 shudders again. Metal punches inward somewhere behind the radio compartment. A man screams cut short by static. Danny forces himself not to look back. Hold formation with the other ship, he orders. To his right, the second Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress limps beside them. Its right wing scarred, smoke thinning but persistent. Its top turret begins firing. Twin .50 caliber streams reaching toward the diving fighters. The two bombers instinctively close distance mutual protection. Their defensive arcs overlap now, creating a crude, desperate fortress of their own. Another Bf 109 slashes through. Cannon shells strike Danny's fuselage. The cockpit glass spiders further. Harris grits his teeth. Hydraulics dropping. We won't get gear down if this keeps up. Altitude, 14,000 feet. Too low. The flak has stopped. They're below the heavy batteries now. But that only means something worse. A darker shape approaches twin engines, long nose. A Messerschmitt Bf 110. It comes head-on. Danny sees the pilot clearly, this time a flash of goggles, a steady posture. The German aircraft opens fire from the front. Cannon rounds smashing into the nose of the second B-17. Glass erupts outward. The bomber dips sharply. Stay with us, Danny whispers under his breath. The Bf 110 streaks past. The waist gunners from both American aircraft pour fire into its tail. One engine of the German fighter ignites. It rolls away trailing smoke, but the damage is done. The other B-17 drops several hundred feet, nose low. For a terrifying moment, Danny thinks it's over. Then slowly it pulls level again. Altitude, 10,000 feet. Cloud layer below. Thin, gray, uncertain. Fuel's leaking fast, Harris says. We won't make England. Danny knows it before he hears it. The North Sea is too far. They are deep over enemy territory, bleeding altitude and fuel. The second B-17 inches closer, so close. Danny can see movement in its cockpit. The other pilot raises one hand briefly. Not a wave. A signal? He points downward. Cloud cover, concealment. Danny nods. Into the clouds, he orders. The two broken bombers descend together. Engines uneven, gunners still scanning for fighters. The gray mist rises to meet them. And as they slip into the cloud layer over Nazi Germany, visibility drops to nothing. The sky disappears. They are blind. The world turns white. Cloud swallows both Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress aircraft in seconds. Ice crystals streak across Danny Mercer's windscreen. Visibility drops to nothing beyond the spinning blur of his propellers. Inside the cockpit, the sound changes. No more tracers. No more cannon. Just engines uneven, coughing and the steady hiss of oxygen. Altitude, 8,000 feet. They are descending blind over Nazi Germany. Danny grips the yoke lightly. Too much input and the damaged wing could fail. Too little and they might drift apart in the cloud, each alone. Keep it smooth, Harris says. Artificial horizon stable. For now. Danny glances right. For a moment, nothing. Just vapor. Then a shadow appears, dark shape materializing in the mist. The other B-17. Close. Too close. Its right wing is bent slightly upward where metal tore earlier. The nose is jagged, plexiglass shattered, but it flies steady. Two bombers. No formation. No escort. Just instinct. Fuel at 30 minutes, Harris murmurs. 30 minutes in enemy airspace. Danny does the math. They are far inland. Even if they break through the clouds near the coast, they won't have range for England. Not with a dead engine and leaking tank. The interphone crackles. Radio's gone, the operator reports. We're on our own. The clouds thin. Below them, the gray layer breaks into scattered patches. Through gaps, Danny glimpses dark forests, narrow roads, and tiny farmhouses. Altitude, 4,000 feet. Low enough for light flak. Low enough for small arms. Gear won't hold for a normal landing, Harris says quietly. Hydraulics are shot. Danny knows what that means. A belly landing, if they find open ground. He studies the terrain below as they descend out of the last cloud cover. Northern Germany unfolds beneath them, fields divided by hedgerows, narrow rivers reflecting dull light. No obvious airfield. No friendly lines. To the right, the second B-17 drops slightly lower, as if scouting. Danny sees movement below. Vehicles on a dirt road. A column. Military. German trucks. A flash from the ground, small, sharp. Machine gun fire begins snapping past the fuselage. They are low enough now for every rifle to reach them. Pick a field, Harris urges. Ahead, beyond a thin tree line. Danny spots it an open stretch of harvested farmland, long and flat. Not ideal, but possible. He looks right. The other pilot sees it too. Both bombers line up, wounded and silent, descending together toward the same narrow field deep inside Nazi Germany. Danny lowers what's left of his flaps manually. The aircraft groans. Altitude, 500 feet, ground rushing up, and suddenly, from the tree line ahead, anti-aircraft guns swing toward them. The anti-aircraft guns open fire. Not the heavy 88s from high altitude, these are lighter, closer, brutal in their precision. Shells burst just ahead of Danny Mercer's nose, black puffs at treetop level. The concussion slams through the cockpit of his crippled Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress. Hold it steady, Harris shouts. Altitude, 300 feet. There is no climbing away now. No second attempt. The field is rushing toward them, brown earth, scattered hay stubble, bordered by a thin line of trees and a dirt road where German trucks are already stopping. Danny keeps the nose slightly high, airspeed bleeding off. One engine dead, another barely holding. To the right, the second B-17 commits first. It drops lower, wheels still tucked, flaps uneven. For a split second, Danny thinks they'll collide again. The other bomber hits hard. Its belly slams into the earth in a violent spray of dirt and sparks. The left wing dips, gouging a trench across the field. Smoke erupts from beneath the fuselage as it skids forward in a shower of debris. Your turn, Harris whispers. Danny cuts mixture on the remaining engines. Silence crashes into the cockpit, broken only by wind and the grinding roar of impact. The Fortress meets the ground with a bone-shattering jolt. The nose dips violently. Danny's harness bites into his shoulders. Dirt smashes against the windshield. The aircraft skids sideways, metal screaming, wingtip tearing through the soil. For a moment, it feels endless. Then stillness. Only ticking metal. Smoke curling past the cockpit glass. Danny forces his hands to move. Out, move. The crew stumbles through the waste compartment. Some bleeding, one limping badly. The belly hatch sticks for a terrifying second before giving way. Cold German air floods in. Outside, the second B-17 lies 100 yards away, broken but intact. Its crew is emerging, two staggering shapes against the smoke. No explosion. They made it down alive. But survival is not freedom. Across the field, trucks screech to a halt. German soldiers jump down, helmets low, rifles raised. Shouts in harsh accents cut through the wind. Danny raises his hands slowly. He looks once toward the other bomber. The other pilot stands near his wreck, hands up as well. Their eyes meet across the churn field. They did not fall, but they did not escape. Rifles surround them now. Boots crunch over frozen soil. A young German soldier steps forward, weapon trembling slightly, disbelief on his face. Two American bombers collided in the sky, landed alive, and now, deep inside Nazi Germany, they are prisoners. They are marched off the field at gunpoint. Danny Mercer walks stiffly across frozen soil, wrists raised, flight gloves still on. Behind him, the wreck of his Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress smolders quietly, aluminum skin torn open like a wound. German soldiers swarm the crash site, shouting over one another. Some stare opally at the two broken bombers lying so close together in the same field. One of them laughs in disbelief. Danny keeps his eyes forward. A truck waits at the dirt road. The crew from the second B-17 stands nearby, guarded. For the first time, Danny sees the other pilot clearly, a captain, maybe 30, face streaked with oil and blood, but standing straight. They are pushed into the back of the truck together. Rifles remain trained on them. As the vehicle lurches forward, Danny hears something unexpected. Female voices. He turns his head. At the edge of the field, near a low farmhouse, a group of women stands watching. Not civilians exactly. Their posture is rigid. Uniform coats buttoned high. Auxiliary personnel likely. Luftwaffe communications. Staff or local labor auxiliaries. Assigned to nearby anti-aircraft units. One young woman steps forward despite a guard's warning. Her cap sits squarely. Her expression is not fear but astonishment. She looks at the two American crews, then back at the wreckage behind them. Two bombers collided, landed, alive. She whispers something to the woman beside her. Danny cannot hear it, but he reads her lips. Glitch. Impossible. The truck jolts over a rut. A German sergeant climbs into the back, scanning them carefully. Keine Waffen, he demands. No weapons, Danny replies evenly. The sergeant searches them anyway, removing pistols, maps, escape kits. When he finds Danny's small folded silk map, he studies it briefly before stuffing it into his coat. The truck drives toward a small town several miles away. Church steeple, brick buildings, a railway line. People gather along the road as they pass farmers, old men, children in heavy coats. and more women in uniform. They stare opally at the Americans. Some shake their heads. Some look angry, but a few simply look stunned. The rumor spreads quickly through the village. 2 enemy bombers collided in the sky, and both landed intact. At a small Luftwaffe administrative building, the truck stops. Danny steps down onto cobblestone. A young female clerk stands near the entrance with a clipboard, eyes wide. She looks from Danny to the other pilot, then back toward the distant smoke rising beyond town. For a moment, no one speaks. Even the enemy cannot quite understand what they are seeing, and Danny realizes something strange. Their survival has already become a story. They are taken inside the Luftwaffe administrative building just before dusk. The air smells of coal smoke and wet wool. Danny Mercer stands against a plaster wall, guarded by 2 riflemen, while German personnel move in hurried whispers around them. A senior officer enters, dark blue-gray tunic, Iron Cross ribbon at his collar. A Luftwaffe major. He studies Danny and the other American pilot in silence. "You collided?" the major asks in measured English. "Yes, sir," Danny replies evenly. "And you both landed?" "Yes." The major's jaw tightens slightly. He looks toward the window, where smoke from the wrecked Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress aircraft still stains the horizon. "You were fortunate." Danny says nothing. They are separated briefly for questioning. Standard procedure. Name, rank, serial number. Nothing more. When Danny is escorted back into the main hall, something unusual is happening. Several Luftwaffe auxiliary women have gathered along the far wall. Clerks, signal staff, administrative workers. They were likely posted to nearby flak batteries or communications stations. Word has spread. 2 American bombers. Mid-air collision. Both crews alive. The women stare opally. Not with hatred, with disbelief. One of them, the same young woman from the field, steps closer than the guards like. She studies Danny's torn flight jacket, the oil stains, the small rip along his cheek where glass struck him. In careful English, she asks, "How did you not fall?" The room grows quiet. Danny meets her eyes. They are not hostile. They are searching. "We kept flying," he answers simply. She shakes her head faintly, as if the explanation refuses to fit into logic. Another woman murmurs in German. A few exchange looks. Even the guards seem unsettled. For years, they have been told American bombers are machines, cold, relentless, faceless. But these men stand here breathing, blooded, human, and they did something that seems impossible. The major clears his throat sharply. The moment breaks. "They will be transferred to a prisoner camp tomorrow," he announces. Outside, night settles over the town. Frost gathers along the cobblestones. A distant train whistle echoes through the dark. Danny is led into a holding room with barred windows. The other pilot is already there. They exchange a quiet nod, no words needed. From somewhere in the corridor, he hears soft female voices still talking in hushed tones. Shock has turned into something else. Curiosity, and perhaps unwilling respect. Tomorrow there will be prisoners of war inside Nazi Germany. But tonight, even their captors cannot quite believe what the sky allowed them to survive. Morning comes cold and gray. Danny Mercer stands in the courtyard of the Luftwaffe building, wrists loosely bound, breath visible in the frost. A transport truck idles near the gate, exhaust drifting into the pale sky. The 2 American crews are lined up side by side. The young auxiliary woman from the day before stands near the doorway again, clipboard in hand. She tries not to stare, but she does. Danny notices. Across the courtyard, the Luftwaffe major gives final instructions. The prisoners will be sent north to a transit camp, then likely to a permanent stalag. Standard procedure. But nothing about yesterday was standard. As the Americans are loaded into the truck, a small group of auxiliary women gathers quietly near the gate. Their expressions are not triumphant, not mocking. They look unsettled. The truck lurches forward over cobblestone. As it passes the gate, the young woman steps slightly closer than regulation allows. She speaks in careful English, barely above a whisper. "You were supposed to die. It is not cruel. It is factual." Danny looks at her through the wooden slats of the truck bed. "Guess we disappointed someone," he replies calmly. For the first time, her mouth twitches almost a smile, quickly suppressed. The truck rolls out of town. Behind them, villagers and uniformed staff watch the Americans disappear down the road toward the railway station. Inside the truck, the mood shifts. The other pilot, Captain Ellis, leans closer to Danny. "They're shaken," he mutters. Danny nods. "They watched us fall and survive." The truck stops near a small rail depot. A steam locomotive waits, hissing impatiently. Freight cars stand ready. German guards form a perimeter. As the prisoners are transferred toward the train, Danny catches sight of something unexpected. Several of the same auxiliary women have followed at a distance, standing near the edge of the platform, bundled in coats, watching silently, not cheering, not jeering, watching. The rumor has grown overnight. 2 American bombers collided at high altitude over Nazi Germany, and both crews walked away. One of the women removes her gloves and folds them carefully in her hands, eyes fixed on Danny as he steps into the railcar. The heavy door slides shut with a metallic crash. Darkness. Through a narrow crack in the wood, Danny sees the platform begin to move as the train pulls away. The women remain standing there long after the locomotive begins to disappear into morning fog. And for the first time since the collision, Danny feels something unfamiliar. Not fear, not anger, but the strange weight of having survived when no one friend or enemy expected him to. The train whistle echoes across the frozen countryside. They are heading deeper into Germany. The train slows near dusk. After hours in darkness, the railcar door slides open with a metallic scrape. Cold air floods in, sharp with the smell of coal smoke and damp earth. Danny Mercer steps down onto gravel under armed guard. Barbed wire fences stretch into the fading light. Guard towers stand at measured intervals. Searchlights rest idle for now. A wooden sign near the gate reads, Stalag Luft 3. This is where Luftwaffe prisoners go. Inside the compound, rows of barracks sit in rigid formation. Mud churns between them. American and British airmen already inside the wire pause in their movements, watching the new arrivals. Word travels fast here. 2 bombers collided over Germany, and both crews lived. Danny and Captain Ellis walk side by side through the gate. No salute, no ceremony, just paperwork and registration beneath the gaze of guards. As they are processed, a familiar detail catches Danny's attention. Near the administrative office just inside the perimeter stands a small group of German auxiliary staff female clerks assigned to the camp's records section. Their uniforms are crisp despite the dust. Their expressions are guarded. Among them, the young woman from the village. She is holding a folder now, clearly reassigned to assist with prisoner intake. Their eyes meet again. She looks at the paperwork in her hand, then back at him. Name, she asks formally, in English. Staff Sergeant Daniel Mercer. She writes carefully. Aircraft, B-17. Her pen pauses briefly. You collided in the air. Yes. A flicker crosses her face, not disbelief this time, but something quieter. Understanding that survival is not magic. It is choice. It is discipline. It is luck. She finishes writing and steps back. The guard nudges Danny forward toward the barracks. Inside, other American airmen gather around them almost immediately. Is it true? One whispers, you hit another fortress. Danny nods once. And you both landed? Yes. Silence settles for a moment inside the wooden barrack. Outside, night falls over the camp. Searchlights sweep lazily across the perimeter wire. Somewhere beyond the fence, distant trains echo through Germany's dark countryside. Danny sits on the lower bunk assigned to him. He thinks of the collision, the locked wings, the fall, the field, the stunned faces watching them rise from wreckage. They were supposed to fall from the sky that day. Instead, they became something else. A story told quietly on both sides of the wire. In a war built on destruction, two broken aircraft refused to drop. And now, behind barbed wire, that impossible moment still hangs in the air unbroken.